Hey there, I'm Carolyn, and if you're a course creator who is trying to make more money from your course launches, then maybe at some point you realized that understanding the metrics behind your course launches is the best way to determine what worked, what didn't work, and then ultimately to improve upon it and make more money the next time. So I was a certified online business manager, managing the behind the scenes of multiple 6 and 7 figure online course businesses. And I was often charged with tracking launches for clients, helping them understand what worked, what didn't work, and then developing a strategy to make improvements for next time. And so over the course of several years, I figured out what I find to be the best way to manage the launch metrics of your course. So I have a template that I'm going to walk through here, show you how I found to be the best way to manage course sales and launches. So at the bottom here, we have an aggregate tag, and then for each individual launch, we have its own separate tag. So a couple of reasons for this is that there are so many potential launch metrics involved in an individual launch, and you want to make sure they're all in one spot. So this is something that during a launch, I would be tracking on a daily basis. For other types of metrics, I think weekly is good enough. For launches, because there's so much effort and time and money and energy that goes into it, you really want to track on a daily basis, because if something is wrong or you need to make a last minute change, you have the data to support that decision. So each individual launch should be named at the bottom with its own tab. And then within each tab, you're determining what metrics you're tracking. So I'm going to go through an example here, and it will vary launch to launch depending on what type of launch. If you have a live webinar, if you have a challenge, email focused launch, so some of the metrics may or may not be relevant for your course launch. So the first thing here is I always have date in the first column. And again, this is going to be the daily dates of the launch. So whenever promotion starts, and then when the cart closes. So if you have different paid and organic tracking pages, registrations or opt-ins or signups, you're going to want to track those separate, because if you're putting money behind ads, then you want to have a separate page to make sure only people who are going from ads are seeing that page, and you can understand your cost per lead and your conversion rate on that page as compared to maybe warmer traffic on your email list or social media channels. So we have organic page views, organic opt-ins, and then the conversion rate. Again, just a formula built in here. And then we have the same thing for the paid version of that page. Then we have ad spend and then cost per lead. Could do a daily cost per lead in this example. I'm just doing an overall cost per lead because especially with ads, it may start out high and then drop down and fluctuate. And so we just want to see an overall average for this example. Then email metrics, right? So you're going to have your email name or subject line, the email type, because with launches, there's various types of emails you're sending. So in this example, webinar invites, webinar reminders, and then the sales emails. And so when you want to look back at this in the future, it's going to be really helpful if you know what type of email was sent. Then you have a number of contacts, your open rate and your click-through rate. And then we move on to webinar metrics. So the webinar show-up number and then a show-up rate. Anything with a formula, I highlight in a color so I know easily that I can just drag down that formula. Sales page views, checkout page views, sales page to checkout page conversion. You'll note this space here. That's because, right, as soon as we get further into the launch, there's probably going to be multiple emails on one day. And so what you do is just have an additional row. There's another email, and that could just continue on for however many emails there are. And then we have number of sales by day, pay in full, payment plan, the pay in full percent, any upsells, and we have overall revenue and sales. So in my mind, revenue is cash collected, and then sales is any future payments that may come in. It's especially important to track if you have a large number of people doing a payment plan option. So this is, again, something that's tracked daily for each launch. And over down at the bottom here, I have kind of an aggregate or an average column depending on the metric. So it's going to be total page views, total registrants, but then it's going to be like overall average conversion rate of that page because a total wouldn't make sense. And then again, we have an aggregate column. So here is where you are aggregating the information for each launch. So you're looking at total revenue, total sales, those averages for the conversion rate all of these items so that you can see at a glance how it performed. And then this will allow you to compare against these different launches to see the performance across launches and how they compare to each other. Rather than having to jump constantly from tab to tab, you have this aggregate view. And also filter, right, by product type or different promos. If you want to compare only challenges with each other or all of product A, all of product B, you can filter this in order to do that. Another really important thing is promotion details. So, what was the topic of the webinar? What was the audience that the different emails went to? Were there specific bonuses? What was the price point? Because as these things shift in the future, it's going to be really hard to remember what you did for that launch. And so having it here is in an easy to view place is what I found to be the best strategy. And then also customer insights. So after every launch, I would go in and look at the people who purchased and use my CRM and my email system in order to get some information about them. So some examples of things that I would look at is average time on list before purchase, number of people who were first-time customers, number of people who have purchased other products, were they on the live webinar, were they not? So different customer insights that will be helpful for you in understanding who was the type of person that bought. So I hope this quick tutorial was helpful for you in order to understand which metrics you should be tracking and how to track launch metrics in order to improve your performance for the next time. And I have a template below of this exact tracker. If you want a shortcut and you don't want to spend the time building this yourself, I have a link below in order for you to get this template.